Okay, this video is about factorising at the National 5 level, and it's involving trinomials. Now trinomials is three terms in x, and we have x to the power 0, x to the power 1, x to the power 2, that's why it's called trinomials. So, factorising, well, it's changing an addition sum into a product of two brackets, a multiplication of two brackets. So we want to take this expression and we want to change it into two brackets that multiply together. Okay, so the standard way of doing it, we're going to use the grid method. Now I'm going to label this A, B and C, and they're called coefficients of the powers of x. So power of x squared here, coefficient's 1, coefficient of x is 3, a positive 3, and the coefficient of x to the power 0, now x to the power 0 is 1 if you've done your indices, so x to the power 0, the coefficient of that is 2. So how do we go about getting this expression into the product of two brackets? Well, we use the grid method, okay? If saw the grid method before for multiplying out brackets. We're doing the opposite this time, we're putting it into a bracket. And there's a standard way of doing this. So here we go. The first term, x squared, goes here. And the last term, a positive 2, goes here. Now this is the tricky bit coming up. We need two numbers that multiply. So here I'll put wee boxes for the numbers. We need two numbers that multiply to give us the value of a times c. So a times c, well that's 1 times 2. So when they multiply together, they must give me 2. And at the same time, the same two numbers as above, these two numbers, they must add together to give me the middle term, the b value here, which is a positive 3. So I'll just put that there, that's AC multiplied together to get 2, that's how we get it. A times C gives me 2, so we'll multiply that, that's how we get the 2. And to get the 3, well that's just the B term, I'll just put that in a wee bracket, the B term, which is the middle part of your quadratic, positive 3. So, how do we get these two values? Well, we look for factors of 2. So the one you're multiplying together here, you look for factors of that. Well, it's dead easy. Only factors of 2 are 1 and 2, or negative 1 and negative 2. And when we add these two together, we get 3. So it's 1 times 2, and 1 plus 2 gives me 3. But the wee caveat to that is that this 3 value is actually in terms of x's. So we need, rather than 1 and 2, we actually need 1x plus 2x's, because we really need that to make 3x, because that's what the middle term is here. So we take these two values and we put them in here and in here. So what goes where? Doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter where you put them. So I'm going to put the 2x here, and I'm going to put the 1x here, and it's a positive x, and this is a positive 2. So the next step, we factorise each row. So looking at the top row, if we factorise that, we can see it's got an x in common. Factorise the second row, well, it's got a 2 in common, and it's a positive 2. Well, that's going to be one of our brackets. To get the other bracket, well, we say x times something must give me x squared, x times something must give me x squared, so that must be an x. And the x times something must give me x, so that's obviously 1. 1 times x gives me x. Now we can check just to make sure I've got it all right. 2 times x gives me 2x, 2 times 1 gives me 2, so it all works. So that's my other bracket as well. So x plus 2 and x plus 1. Now it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what bracket goes where. That bracket could come first, and that bracket could come second, doesn't really matter. Okay, right, I think we'll try another one. So let me think of another number that we can use. Just make one up. Yeah, here's another one. What about x squared plus 6x plus 5? Okay, so that's my A, my B, and my C. And we need this to be written as a bracket times another bracket. Times in mathematics, we usually say the word product. Product means times. That bracket times that bracket. So we're changing an addition sum into a product of two brackets at times. So here's our grid. First term goes here, it's squared, and the last term goes down the bottom right. That's 5, and it's a positive 5. So we need two numbers. We'll just put boxes for numbers. So two numbers that multiply together to give me A times C. Well, A times C is 1 times 5. So that must give me a 5. And at the same time, the same two numbers that are in here must add to give me 6. Okay? So again, we look for factors of 5. So why is it 6? Because it's B here. Right? So I'll just put a wee B here so you know that this number here comes from the middle term in your quadratic. Okay? So to get this to work, we look for factors of 5. So 1 and 5, there's no other factors. We could have minus 1 and minus 5, that could work as well, I suppose. But there's no other factors there. So, but when we add these two together, we get 6. 1 plus 5 is 6. So that's going to work. So that's going to be 1 and 5 and 1 and 5. It works. But again, it's not really 6 we want, because look at the middle term is 6x, so it's really 1x plus 5x that we really want, because we really want 6x. It's really the middle term we want 6x. So take these two and put them in the grid. Again, it doesn't matter where you put them. I'm just going to put the 5x in here and a plus x in here, and let's factorise it. So factorising that, we get, taking out a 5, it's a positive 5, factorising the top one, we get x, so there's another bracket. So that's going to go in there, so I'll just put that in there now, maybe I'll just shove that in. When I need that times something gives me x squared, well that's going to be x, and that times something gives me x here, so that's going to be plus 1. So that's my second bracket. We check, 5 times that gives me that, 5 times 1 gives me 5, yep, it definitely works. So x plus 1. So hopefully you're getting the idea of this now. We'll do another couple, see how we got on the few others. Now, I'm going to make it a wee bit harder this time. I'm going to have negatives involved in this one. So we've got x squared plus x minus 12. Okay, and we have to factorise that. Again, we need to put it in a product of two brackets. So set up our grid. X squared goes in here, minus 12 goes down here. So this is the first one we've had a negative in. But we just follow the process and everything should work. So we need two numbers that are going to multiply together to give me negative 12. And the same two numbers must add together to give me a positive 1. Well, for two numbers to multiply to give me 12, it must be factors of 12. So we've got 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Now, the fact that it's in negative 12, one of these numbers has to be a negative, because that's the only way we can get negative 12, for one of them to be negative. And when we add them together, we need to get a positive 1. So hopefully it's quite obvious that this has to be minus 3 here, or negative 3. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Negative 3 plus 4 is positive 1. So negative 3 and 4, negative 3 and 4. And again, it's not really one we want here, it's 1x. So it's really negative 3x we've got plus a 4x, and that gives us x. That's what we really want. So here's our two expressions that we need to put in here. So let's put 4x in here, and let's put negative 3x in there. Factorise it. So we'll take out a common factor x on the top, and for the bottom we can take out a factor of 4, positive 4. So that's one of our brackets, x plus 4, and the top bit, x times something gives me x squared, so that must be x. X times something must make it negative 3, so it must be negative 3. So x times negative 3 gives me negative 3x. So just double check it. That's going to be our second bracket. But let's double check it. That times that gives me that. That times that gives me that. That times that gives me that. And 4 times negative 3 gives me negative 12. It works. So my second bracket is x minus 3. Okay. I think we'll do one more, just to make sure that we're definitely getting it. So let me just wipe one of them off here, and we'll do one more. Again, I think I'll put a negative in it as well, just to make it slightly harder. So let's look at this one. X squared, and we've got a negative middle term this time, negative 4x plus 4. So we want to make that into a product of a double bracket. So we're factorising. This is called factorising. So what's going to go in here and in here? Again, identify your A, your B, and your C. Form your grid. First part, x squared, goes in here. And your last part, positive 4, goes in here. And two numbers that multiply together to give me 4, and at the same time the same two numbers must add to give me negative 4. So factors of 4, 1 and 4, 2 and 2. That's only possible factors. So we need a negative 4 when we add them together. So again, hopefully it's obvious, this needs to be a negative 2 and a negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 gives me a positive 4. So that's negative 2 and negative 2. And a negative 2 plus negative 2 gives me negative 4. So that's what we're looking for. But again, remember, middle term is actually negative 4x. So this is really negative 2x plus negative 2x gives me negative 4x. That's what we're really wanting. So these are the two values that we're really looking for. So we'll take these and we'll put them in there. So it's the same value, so it doesn't matter where you put them. But this time, when we're taking out a common factor and we've got a negative 2x, we always take out the negative highest common factor. Okay, for this wee bit. So we'll do the top one first. That's easy, we'll just take the x out. But for this one, we're going to take out a negative 2 rather than just 2. So it's a negative x term, we always take out the negative highest common factor. So that's going to be one of my brackets, x minus 2. Something times something gives me x squared, so again that's an x. Something times x times something gives me negative 2x, so that's going to be negative 2. Oh, it's the same bracket. So that's x minus 2 again. And again, just double check, yeah, it's all working out. Yeah, it all works out, so we've done it right. Now you've got two brackets the same, so from your indices work, we would tidy that up into x minus 2 all squared. And that's us. Will I do one more? I think I'll do one more. Let's do one with a negative middle term and a negative term at the end. So we'll do one more just to finish it off. What about this one? x squared minus 2x minus a 3. And we want to put that into a pair of double brackets, a product of brackets. Identify what A, what B, and what C. Remember, they're called coefficients. So coefficient of x squared is 1. You don't see the 1 there, but obviously we've got one of these. Coefficient of the x term is -2, and the bit at the end is -3, the coefficient of that. Remember, that's x to the power 0, but that's x to the power 0 is 1, so we don't put the x to the power 0 in because it's just 1, it comes to 1. You maybe want to stop the video here and maybe have a wee go yourself and then play the video and see if you can get the right answer. But here we go. Grid. So x squared here and a -3 here. And we need two numbers that are going to multiply together to give me -3. Remember, that's a times c in the equation, a times c. And the same two numbers that we get here must add to give me the b term, and the b term is -2. So that's the b term in your equation. Well, we need -3 and we need -2, so we're looking factors of 3. Well, that's easy, 1 and 3. Doesn't have any other factors. But when we add these two together, we need to get a -2. Well, hopefully that tells you that the 3 must be a negative, and that's a positive number. So 1's a positive and the -3 is the other number. So a positive 1 times -3 gives me that -3, and 1 plus -3 gives me -2. But again, the middle terms is in terms of x, so it's really x plus -3, x is equal to -2x. So it's -3x and an x term that we need. So I'm just going to put the x in there, that should be easy enough. And we'll put -3x up here. So, top one, factorise that, it gives me x. Now this one here, you might be looking at and say, oh, there's not a highest common factor. Well, there actually is. It's 1. Okay, 1's a factor of any number, so it does have a factor of +1. And that's going to be one of our brackets. So that's going to be x plus 1. Same rules as before. Some times some gives me x squared, again that's going to be your x. And x times something gives me -3x, so that's going to be -3. And that's going to be your other bracket. So that's x minus 3. Finished. Okay, so that was the basic factorising at National 5 for simple quadratics. That's where we only have x squared. We don't have a number here apart from 1 to make it a wee bit harder. My next video is going to be when it's the harder factorising, i.e. you're going to have a number here like 2 or 3 or something like that, and it's going to make it a wee bit harder. That means you're going to have a wee bit more factors than normally, but the process is exactly the same. Okay, now why are we doing this? What's the point of this? Well, the point of factorising is we use it for quadratic theory to see where a curve cuts the x-axis. So we're always interested in where a curve cuts the x-axis, and in real life engineers use this type of maths to solve problems. So that's the reason we're doing it, to find, it's actually called, when it cuts the x-axis, we're finding roots. The roots are where it cuts the x-axis. But that's for another video. Okay, so my next video is on harder factorising trinomials. If you want to practice on this, the simple ones, go to mathsrevision.com under National 5 and you'll see practice material under factorisation.